So I think we would need to start with just an acknowledgement and start with the premise that our country is quickly on its way to becoming a non-white majority population within a couple of decades. So I think that's just important to recognize right away. And if we are to believe that journalism is a democratic institution that plays a fundamental role in an increasingly diverse democracy, then we should strive towards building a media landscape that actually reflects that diverse democracy. So with that big picture premise, then I would drill down to really making sure that we are distributing funds to organizations that are serving BIPOC communities, underrepresented communities, rural as well. They are underserved as well. And when I say distributing funds, of course, program funds are great. Intermediaries serve critical roles, but ultimately, these organizations I'm talking about, a lot of them are really, they're the definition of bootstrapping. They're tiny, and what they need is they just need funding, general operating funds, to pay salaries, put gas in reporters' cars. And, I will say also, I think it's always important to have salaried full-time reporters, particularly when you are working with underserved communities, communities of color who often have very rightfully earned distrust in media, and in some cases had, there's been a history of harm created by media. I think it's really important to build relationships, and that includes, having reporters that are there for the long run. Freelancers are great, but they're kind of zipping in and then zipping out. Reporters that are salaried, have sustainable funding and can show up and keep showing up and build trust in the community. So I would, one priority, I think, I guess this could have been in the first answer too, but I think, if we're really going to be serious about addressing representation in both coverage, but newsrooms as well, there has to be a commitment to training, internships, fellowships. When I mean a commitment, I really mean there needs to be a rethinking of how we approach that, and significant funding dedicated to those areas. And what I mean is, of course, it's important to train the next generation of journalists no matter what. But also the traditional intern and structures in media often include low pay, perhaps no pay. So we are asking people to move to a city for a summer without any pay or without enough pay to even pay the bills. We're inherently creating a non-inclusive system. Something I talk about a lot with our work at Underscore, and we focus specifically on serving Indigenous communities in the Pacific Northwest. I know a lot of this is anecdotal, but I really want to be hearing from the community, especially communities who have felt burned by the media in the past, that really, are we doing things right? What else can we be doing? Community listening sessions are part of that, but to me, that is impact. That is what that's what we're striving to do. We are trying to better serve and reach these communities who have not been served well by the media in the past. So yes, you can have all sorts of numbers and metrics, but really, you need to, you need to be hearing from the community. Future journalism increasingly reflects the demographics of the country that we are and are becoming, which is increasingly diverse, and again headed towards a non-white majority within the next couple of years, next couple of decades. So I think any discussion in the future, I hope that's a big part of it. And then I also think there's going to be a lot more collaboration. There already is, but to make it work, we're going to need a lot more collaboration, and that's across media, from rural papers, nonprofit startups, the legacy Metro dailies, NPR affiliates, and part of that collaboration and cooperation, I think maybe not every town is going to get their local newspaper again, the many that have lost it. But perhaps there are ways, like, for instance, Underscore, we specifically focus and only focus on Indigenous communities. And while, of course, many other news orgs are reporting on Indigenous issues here, we increasingly, at times, function as sort of a Indigenous reporting bureau for a wide network of media outlets here. And so I think I could see, more specialized, smaller organizations that really focus on, one area and perhaps one community, do that really well, and then that can be, that can serve, the broader regional media landscape.